Hey everyone, today we're going to do a pretty simple job. We're going to take this cargo rack that I got on Facebook Marketplace for 30 bucks and I'm going to add taillights, paint it up, get it so it looks good, maybe some reflectors and a license plate bracket, because on the Avalanche when you put anything in here it'll hide your plate. Don't want to get pulled over for nonsense like that. So the reason why I got this is because I went on a road trip with the Avalanche with 4 people, and it's not a Suburban. It doesn't hold as much luggage. Plus I've got all the off-road supplies and tools and jacks and spares in the bed of the truck, so a little bit more rack space would be nice. And I try to avoid putting things on top of the roof rack. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I've got the roof rack here. It's a little inconvenient and it doesn't hold all that much weight. They say a max 150, maybe. But I'm used to the Suburban, which, you know, of course is a fully enclosed back, so that's a lot more room. So we're gonna be putting the rack here. You'll note in my other video I got the wiring hitch, the harness working. So we'll be going here, and so the rack sits right here, and anything you put in it will hide this plate. So I've got to put a new license plate bracket on that. All right, so it's going to be an easy project. Let's get busy. You want to help, Muggs? You want to help today? Oh. Good boy. I've already drilled holes to mount the taillights. This looked like a good place. I hadn't drilled holes for the license plate bracket yet. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it. I'm going to clean it up a little bit and paint it with some hammered black. So you can see there's some rust showing up here or there. Can't have that. We'll paint the underneath first, but let's get these old labels off as best we can. All right, we'll give that a quick acetone wipe. Oh, get another one here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to use some of this anywhere on here where we see rust. There are a few areas where rust is coming through. I'm also going to do the bolts just to help the paint to adhere to it. Weld joints are a good spot for where things usually rust. But I have no idea how old this thing is. Some debris in there. Oh, no. All right. Now flip it over and do the other side. A lot more rust on this upper side that I can see. Probably because it was hit, scraped, whenever anything was put in it. there's a gap there. Probably take a minute and put some JB Weld in there. Stop water from getting in. All right. Let's give the primer a couple minutes to dry, and I'll patch up that little gap, and then we'll paint. Okay, that's what we're gonna fill. I wiped off some of the paint. We're gonna use some JB Weld. Let's mix that up. This is a 2-part epoxy. If you haven't seen me use it before, whoa, this does not want to open, of course. So we do 2 equal parts. We're not going to need a lot in this case, because we're just filling that one hole. Use my handy brush here and just mix it up. You'll get a light gray color out of it when it's fully mixed up. That looks good. Okay, so I like to use brushes a lot when I've got to kind of push it in. So let me get the camera on that. We're gonna fill this gap and stop water from getting in. Let's see if it was cracked on the other side. Nope, that's it. Might as well put more on there. All right, that's it. Gotta let that dry. It's gonna take a bit. It's hot out, about 88 degrees today, so won't take too long to dry. So I'm using Rust-Oleum hammered. Just be sure to shake it quite a bit. My rule is 100 shakes before I start spraying. Then I'm gonna do one section at a time. This helps you from getting confused and what you've sprayed and what you haven't, because it is black on black, so it's a little tricky to see it. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. Give it some time, then we'll flip it over and paint the top side. I gave it a few hours. Still a little sticky, mostly because it's so hot out. But you'll get it. Okay, it's all painted. Looks good. That's it for today. I'm gonna let it sit for 20-24 hours to fully dry, and then I'm gonna work on it, mount the tail lights and wiring. I'm gonna do that actually mounted to the back of the truck. Just gets it off the ground, it's easier to handle. But yeah, that's it for today. See you tomorrow. I was going to wait till tomorrow, but it was so hot out that it actually dried in just a few hours. Pretty much fully dry now, so I attached it to the back of the truck, and figure now's a good time to see how this wiring is going to work. I've already drilled holes for these lights. Yep. It'll go there. Plate there. I've got these, I don't really have any use for them. Got the harness. Got some reflective tape with this package too. We'll of course have to look up what all these wires do, but for now we'll be able to test it pretty quickly this way. I'm going to cut the wire very long because I'm not quite sure if I'm going to wire around or what, but to test it, all I really need to do is hook these up. Okay. Hey, Natural. Alright, we've got this kind of set up so I can test the wiring. So it lights. It does not really blink though. It's probably okay. Weird. So this light doesn't come on at all either. That's so weird. And there's no separate wire for that light. So all we've really got is these. I wonder if the brake lights work. I guess I'll hit the brakes and see. Check the footage and see. All right, we've got tail lights, brake lights, but no turn signal lights, which I don't know why, but I don't suppose it really matters because you're not going to miss the turn signals of this. It's not wide enough to block the tail lights on this. So I guess with that, let's just run the wires, figure out how we're going to do that, and then take it from there. I'm thinking we actually take the wiring and run it right along the center and then split left, split right. Probably the easiest thing to do. And just handle the tie wraps. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, I think I've got everything that I need. So first mission is to run these down along here. I don't need all this wire, so I'm going to clip this. No way, shape, or form I can need this much. Just cut it with plenty to spare. I'm going to run it into this stuff. So this is a plastic wire liner. That's all it is. Generally for household, I guess. But rather than have a bunch of loose wires, I think this will look better. Now this ground wire, I'm a little concerned with that. It's not long enough, and I guess I gotta test it if it can ground to one of these bolts. I didn't really test that. See if it'll ground to the chassis. I better test that. Alright, well that works. That does not work. Oh wait, it does work. Okay, so I can ground this to that. This we need. So it's a little premature in unplugging it. Gives us enough. Tie it, tie it, tie it. Tie it. Here we'll run under and over. All right, it's tied. That's going there, that's going there. And see if I have any more of this stuff. All I got is one piece of this, but I think I have smaller. I do. Alright, so I've got my crimps that I always use. Now, these are those shrink tubing things that I crimp. Somebody pointed out to me that I actually don't need to crimp these because that solder in the middle will melt with the shrink tubing. And that's true. However, I still like to crimp them. I want to hold the wire right in the middle. I got the right size? Yeah, these are good. I need two of those, two of these. So I crimp them, and then I hit them with the heat gun, and it holds the wire right where I want it. But it still melts the solder into the wire. So maybe I'll get a close-up of that this time when we do it. Let me put some of this stuff away for a second. Clean up a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna start by tie wrapping this stuff down. Just to hold it in place. Wow, those are weak tie wraps. If I can just pull them like that, oh boy. So I'll probably upgrade. Let's see if I got a size of this big enough. So this is marine grade shrink tubing. And this stuff actually has glue essentially inside of it. I don't think it's going to be big enough to go over both of these, but maybe. Yeah, just barely. Okay. And what the glue does is when you heat it up, it makes a watertight seal. And these will be seeing a lot of water, for sure. Okay, so you can see these, exactly what I'm doing here with these. You know, maybe I'm just being foolish. So what I do is I fold it over and I get this to exactly where I want it. Exactly where I want the solder to go. And then I just crimp it down to make it grab it. And I know some people say it's not necessary, but it's the way I do it. So it's got it completely snagged, so I don't have to worry about the thing sliding now when I hit it with the heat gun. So let's hit it with the heat gun and see what it does. We'll see how well the solder melts. So you see the shrink tubing is melting already. Alright, there goes the solder. So it takes a while. It does take a while to get that solder to melt. There it goes. Okay. Hope you can see that. And we're right under the quick zoom, so you can see the crimp is now completely melting. Let it cool off. So I got the marine shrink tubing to go over it on both ends like that. So then I can make a watertight seal. I'll do the same for this guy here. Here. The reason why I didn't go behind the post is the wires actually run down the back of the lights. There's a little channel there like that. Let me get a couple more tie wraps. Alright, I said I was connecting the ground. I never reamed the camera. I'm just tying the ground up here. Okay, there's your ground. There's your hitch. I haven't mounted the plate light, but we are very close to done. I've got a ground wire here, goes in back of that. I'll shorten that eventually, but for now, while the mosquitoes are coming, I'll just put it on. Alright, so other than that loose end there, I gotta cut these other tie wraps. All right, we're wired. While I'm at it, may as well put a piece of reflector on there. Looks about the right size. Alright, I have determined that for my purposes, this license plate bracket is no good. It doesn't seem to fit well, no matter how I mounted it, unless I did that, and I don't really like that, it's too low. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this steel bracket. I decided to put 2 holes in this. I'm going to mount this about there, and then I'll find a nut and bolt combo to hold the plates on. That seems to be the most reasonable way to do it. 2 holes also could be an option of putting it up, but I like it right there. So, before I actually bolt this sure you've seen me do this trick before. I don't like any bare metal, so I'm going to quickly seal this. These screws are stainless, so these should be fine. And then a couple of nuts. Hopefully these bolts are big enough to hold the plate on. I think so. Yep. Alright, so now the plate will go there. It'll save some light from that light there, but not much. Anyway, that's it. Should be pretty easy to see where those are at night, I think anyway. One of the things I was wondering was why the plate light wasn't working, which is that light, and it is working. It's just pathetically dim. That's not going to light up anything. I mean, what were they thinking? At least I know there's no reason why it wouldn't work, since it's on the same circuit as the parking lights. But geez. Overall though, looks pretty good. It does its job. There's not going to be any confusion as to where the back of the truck is. Okay, that's it. Pretty easy. Only cost me about 30 bucks for those taillights, and you know, the main reason I did it was I don't want somebody confusing where these taillights and that bumper are versus where that rack is. If I'm in bumper-to-bumper traffic or I'm at a stoplight, I don't want somebody running into me. I don't want them to have to deal with the damage to their car, and it won't do me any favors either, and no one wants to deal with insurance companies. So if you want to take on something like this, it's pretty cheap. It's a little safer at night to have it lit up. And, you know, it's easy. So, as I always say, don't be intimidated. Just go out and get busy. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps. Take care.